Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Live Heaven on Earth. This is Valoria Ra. Tonight's topic is Part 2 on Awakened Divine Magnificence. Be who you really are by aligning with your all-knowing higher self. This is your most significant relationship, as when you are aligned with your source, your higher all-knowing self, then all other relationships, whether they are with other people, places, or things, are in perfect harmony. If you do not align with the source of the self, then all other relationships outside of self, regardless of whether they are people, places, or things, will most likely be some sort of struggle. Each day we encounter one opportunity after another to choose whether we will relate to that opportunity with love or with fear. And tonight's topic, Awaken Divine Magnificence. The higher choice of love is to know and be the divine magnificence you are. The other choice, the lower choice of fear, is to continue to believe you are a lesser child of God and a victim of circumstances. We will be discussing both. I want to introduce the team of light connectors that are all patiently waiting online and trying not to giggle as I'm talking. Santai. We have Santai. Hi, Santai.
Hello. I'm giggling.
And welcome back. I know I'm trying not to giggle myself. Angela Trueheart, who's with us from California after landing from a very shaky flight, from what we understand. Hi, Angela.
Hello.
Glad you grounded again.
Oh, me too.
Okay, we have Pamela Bubbling Brook Eubanks. Hi, Pammy.
Hi there.
How are you?
I'm doing perfectly wonderful.
Okay, great. And we have Tom Stilley. Hi, Tom.
Hello, everyone.
All right, we got Tom talking tonight.
My golly.
Pamela DeSalt was going to join us, but I don't see her in the switchboard yet, so maybe she'll be joining us later on. Anyway, I don't know if everybody remembers kind of where we left off last week. We were talking about awakening to the divine magnificence, and we covered remembering who you are, and we also covered remember how to align your higher self with your human self. So let's see, where we were up to was, we were in the middle of discussing remember your purpose of being here, your soul's life purpose and highest good. So anybody want to take it from there?
Oh, Santa, you're not jumping in tonight?
I was going to say, Pamela, you need to jump in this time, and I'll get into the frying pan after you. How's that?
That sounds great.
Yeah, Tammy's not going to be with us through the whole show. She's only got a little time left, so we'll let you go ahead, Tammy.
Okay, discovering your life's purpose. You know, one of the things I thought about this a lot this week, and one of the things that I thought most about identifying who you are and remembering who you are, is simply to start becoming aware of what's going on inside of you, aware of your energies, aware of things that are going around you. And through that awareness, you start getting in touch with some of those other parts of you that are kind of hiding behind the curtains. And I feel like, you know, when you're really starting to look for your life's purpose, it's just about stopping and listening to that inner voice that's talking to you. And it's about taking time to do that. And you know, for me, I felt like my soul's life purpose, I've known for a very long time what it was. It just kind of keeps taking detours. And I wouldn't know that they were detours if I hadn't taken the time to just be still and listen. And I know Loria's laughing at me because she's always telling me to slow down.
No, you're doing just fine. I'm laughing because I'm resonating to what you're saying. Oh, my God, that sounds really familiar.
It does. I mean, you know, it really takes a moment of just being aware, and more moments than that. You know, you take your times in the morning, take your time at night, and it's that listening. It's that listening that helps you hone into what it is and who it is that you are becoming. And also helps you hone in on to the things that you want to leave behind. Because we change from moment to moment, which helps us leave things behind and grow into who we really want to be. And I feel like that awareness is almost like the first key And then once you move beyond that awareness, which takes time, you can step into the acknowledgement of it, just being with it, and allowing yourself to come into, I don't know, to resonate with it, to come into balance with it. And then I feel like your final step is just to start stepping into acceptance of it. We have so many experiences in our lifetime that cause us to self-judge and to self-analyze and to self-criticize, that if we move some of that aside and just be still with who we are, we can step into acceptance of that in spite of all those judgments. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, aren't those what you're talking about? You know, we have all those experiences of that seem to be contradictory to who we really are. I mean, aren't they a perfect opportunity to remember who you are at that moment?
Oh, absolutely. I think that they're reflections. It's kind of like Alice looking in the looking glass, you know, or following the rabbit down the rabbit hole. I agree with you. I think that those are wonderful opportunities to help you identify with what it is that you'd want and don't want in your life, and how. And there are forms of self-imposed hell, which say, "Ooh, this isn't exactly where I want to be, and this isn't exactly who I want to be." And it isn't resonating with who I truly am at the very heart of me. So absolutely, I agree with you. I think that that is perfect opportunity.
Okay, so I'm going to play the devil's advocate because I love to play that role.
Oh, yes?
Even though I'm an angel, I love to play that role. So tell me who you really are and what you're doing here.
Who I really am. I'm a spiritual
And I'm going to ask the same question to everybody, so you better start feeling it out right now.
I'm a spiritual being having an experience of trial and run, error and exception, excelling at what I want to do and want to be, and I don't think really failing at what I want to be, because I don't see failure as the way most people would perceive failure. I see those as opportunities. But I'm somebody here tripping through life trying to figure out how to be peaceful and loving amongst all of the challenges. And the biggest challenge is myself, the contradictions within me.
If I may jump in at this point, is the frying pan open?
We knew you weren't going to wait anymore. The fire's blazing. Go for it.
I think that, you know, I agree with everything you said, Pam, but I think from the most part, people are plagued with the disease of fear to the point where it gets in the way of them being able to be comfortable to really look within. And until they, you know, are in the deeper understanding of the mechanics of fear and how that comes into play when there's a feeling of inadequacy, self-doubt, you know, of the misconception of being a victim and all of that. Once we have looked through that, then it's at that point that we can gain a greater peace of looking deeper within. And in that energy, we begin to really discover that who we are and what direction we want to go in. And we touched on this last week. We talked about the fear and love, and if there's any fear, there's no space for love, and vice versa. If there's love, there's no space for fear. So it's in that being at peace with who we are in the moment and letting go of the fear allows us to go deeper in the recognition of the truth of who we really are in you know, the universality of each individual, you know, and how we're interconnected and interdependent to each other. And it's in that.
Okay, well, I agree with all of that, but I'm still going to ask you who you are and what you're doing here.
Who am I? What am I doing here? Are you asking Santai now?
I'm asking Santai. We already got your tab on it.
I think I'm just a culmination of many energies of exploration, and this time around I've got to the point where I'm more at peace with the depth of my spirit, and it's in that what I'm here and all about is to help others gain a clarity of their own beauty and their own sacredness. That's what I'm all about.
Including yourself.
Yes.
Including myself, of course. You can't teach what you haven't learned.
I don't know, Santa. I got to disagree with you. I think we're learning it as we're teaching it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was going to say that. You caught me. Yeah, we teach what we need to learn.
That's right. Those who can't teach.
The truth of the matter is, like, okay, are we spiritual beings just here trying to figure out how to love ourselves and recognize?
I'm not figuring out anything. I gave that futility up a long time ago. I'm feeling it out. I recognize that I am a soul and a great wisdom, a non-physical being that is encased in physical form. And after going through my trial and error over many, many years, my choice is, of which came about through the awareness of having the experiences, I'm here to be peaceful, to be in love, and to have fun. And, everybody that I can assist to go along that road, the more the better, the bigger the party becomes and the happier we all are. So, Angela, thank you for being so patient. Who are you? Who are you really, and what are you doing here?
Wow. Well, I agree. I'm a spiritual being encased in a physical body, but I also feel that part of my journey of why I'm here is to remember who I am on all levels. And so I'm not just a human, but I'm a spiritual being, and that I have choice, and I am the master. After being aware that I have choice, that life doesn't live me, I live life, and that and through that awareness and through me choosing to be the light being that I am, from this sense of inner peace, then I can accomplish anything I desire. So, and yeah. Yep.
I choose D, all of the above.
Okay. Mm-hmm. We still haven't heard from Tom. Tom, who are you really?
Well, thanks. I really wasn't expecting that, but I kind of I thought I was operating a switchboard here. But I guess I basically feel like I'm here to, in the first place, kind of reconnect with the soul that I was before I came here and try to grasp an understanding of why I'm here at this particular time. And I do feel a little bit of a calling to possibly, through the learning that I'm still working on, maybe help others connect to the same thing.
Beautiful. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah. Okay, so since we all know who we are, these incredible, magnificent spiritual beings, Tom's giving me the evil eye.
Hey, Tom, we very much appreciate that.
Yeah, we do. We appreciate everybody's opinion because we're all spiritual beings with great wisdom and incredible love within us, and every single one of us has something valuable to contribute. So on that note, any of the listeners that would like to call in and add a comment or a question regarding the topic that we're on right now, you can raise your hand. Please remember, if you're looking for the free readings, we're doing that in the last half hour of the show. But the call-in number is, you think I don't, 347-637-2249. I have to read my own notes. Okay, so since we all agree on some level or another that we are these spiritual beings and far more than just these human creatures that are struggling for some kind of existence on this planet, how do you help yourself, and what can we share so that the others, the audience, can remember how to genuinely love and appreciate all the aspects of who they are, both the soul, regardless whether you call it the soul, the higher self, the source, whatever, it matters not what you call it. It's still consistent in who and what it is. But how can we genuinely love and appreciate all aspects of who we are, the human and the humanness and the soul?
I think the first thing that any of us, all of us, have to do is when we're in pain, and all of us are in pain at one time or another, it's in that we need to acknowledge to ourselves that we are not in the clarity of who we are, and we need to examine that pain or discomfort or fear, and it's in the exploration and, putting the ego aside as best we can, that we begin to manifest the clarity of the depth of who we are as a spirit, as, wrapped up in this physical body temporarily. So I think that's the formula, and it just takes, some work and a little bit of blood, sweat, and tears, as the saying goes.
Well, I'm going to share with you how difficult that work was for me today. I've had a number of challenges that I created over this week that were leading me away or out of alignment with who I really am. And today I found myself having a lot of spare time on my hands, which was unusual for the last couple of weeks because I've been really busy the last couple of weeks. I realized that, I had the choice to, what am I going to do with my idle time? Am I going to start focusing on some of those challenges that showed up for me that I don't want to create, or am I going to want to feel good again? And so in order to feel good again, I start focusing on something that's good and beautiful and wonderful and fun. And so I just lied down on the couch and I started imaging beautiful images. I started all of a sudden I was tracking back through my life, and instead of focusing on the things that I didn't like about it or the things that happened that, I perceived pain or struggle from, I just started remembering one thing after another of all the wonderful, beautiful things I've created in this lifetime. And out of that, I was feeling true, honest, genuine love for myself. Both the human part of me and the soul part of me working together and aligning the two and integrating the two so I can appreciate all that I am.
Like Irma Bombeck said, wake up and smell the coffee.
I don't drink that, but that's okay. I still love the smell of it. Pam, Angela, Tom, anybody want to jump in? We're talking about how to genuinely love and appreciate all aspects of who we are.
Well, I think going beyond what Santai said, or maybe taking off on that subject, is the acknowledgement. I agree, is acknowledging and recognizing that the truth of perception is not the same as the truth, and following that examination or following the discovery of that, and not avoiding the pain, but simply acknowledging that it's there, that it's present, and that it may be misperceived, and going underneath that and examining it. And I can give you an example. I was examining some issues this weekend that had to do with my past, and I kept feeling this pain crop up in my body, and it was pretty intense every time I was thinking about this issue. And I realized that part of my body was housing some of the energy of that perception or that memory and that experience. And so rather than trying to avoid the pain or to try and medicate myself to make it go away, I just simply was still with it and just felt it and sat with the energy of it so that I could possibly get beyond what that pain was to really what the core understanding or belief about it was. And as I sat with it, I just started realizing that it was connected to several different things. And throughout the weekend, I even, as I took naps and stuff, I started dreaming about some of the things that kind of surfaced in my subconscious. And as I saw that, I just sat with it more. And the more I just acknowledged that it was there and didn't make any judgment about it, just simply said, oh, there you are. It started residing. And it was at that point that I felt like I could start, because I was not judging it, just being with it, I started moving through it. So that's my example of how to go in and start discovering that. And as I moved through it, then I could just say, all right, I'm just accepting that it's there, and now I'm moving beyond.
Well, that whole process that you're explaining is a very loving and appreciative thing to do for all of who you are. First, I'm in both. I'm hearing take the time for yourself. Take the time to be with yourself. Don't be afraid of feeling bad. Be willing to acknowledge those feelings, so that it's a very loving thing to acknowledge that you're feeling bad, and instead of denying it and then taking the time to just track it and move through it. And there's many different ways of doing that. But
I have to say it was one of the more loving processes I've put myself through. I was like, that was nice. I was just accepting.
There's a multitude of processes, techniques, modalities, applications that are extremely loving that we can engage in consciously to move through what we don't want into what we really want, or move away from who we're not to who we really are. Yet we seem to be conditioned to repeat the stressful and the painful ones, rather than just saying, rather than just being still and saying, hey, let me address this and take care of it. Before I get to Angela or Tom, we do have a caller that's been very patient. Are you all ready to take a caller?
Yes.
Yes. No. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Let's see. Everything's running. 252-572. You're on the air. Welcome to Live Heaven on Earth. How can we help you?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I was just wondering about I'm supposed to be making a move, and I'm already kind of really nervous about it. But I was wondering, do you see me moving into a house or an apartment?
Where would you like to live?
I want to live, well, at least rent out a house, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to find a house.
Okay, let's forget about all that. Where do you want to live? Where, if let me believe you have the magic wand, and there are no limitations on any level.
Well, I'm definitely in the outer skirts of town. It's rural. Like, the houses are really decently spaced apart,
So you want to live outside of town, or do you want to be in town?
Outside. No more than 30 miles out.
And do you want to
be
live
halfway
in a house?
Yeah, right, halfway between, yeah.
Country and city.
Right.
Remote residential or country residential.
Yeah, country, more country.
I'm asking you where you want to live, because that's what's going to determine where you will live. And if on a level, if you're asking us on an intuitive level, where we see you, I'm going to answer myself. I see you deciding that you have the right and you're deserving to live where you really desire to live and being there. So I see you halfway there to that house already. And it's only going to take a little bit more of your cooperation in terms of focusing on what you desire to have. So each time, like when you started with me and I said to you, where do you want to live? And you said, well, this is what I want, but the but is what you need to dismiss. You just take the focus of what you desire to have, and, the ego's going to play with that, because we're all very conditioned to believe that we're limited, and we can only have in the future based on what we can afford now or what we perceive we're deserving of in this moment. So I'm encouraging you, because it feels to me like you've got an extremely powerful imagination. Is that true?
Yes.
That you spend a lot of your you spend a lot of your time what we call daydreaming. And that's a really beautiful, wonderful quality in you. And if I were you, I would take full advantage of that. I would focus on that as one of my heavenly gifts and use that imagination to create the home that you truly desire and forget about the rest of the nonsense. I can't afford, this or all those other ifs, ands, or buts that come up in terms of restrictions and limitations.
Right.
So my suggestion to you is, imagine it. If you have to, you'd probably be really good at drawing a picture of it. Just get some crayons or colors out or whatever and do a little sketch, and don't worry about whether you perceive you're an artist or not. That doesn't matter. We're all artists. Mm-hmm. And, draw a little image of it or go through magazines or something. Find all the things, take some time to make the list of all the things about the place you want to live and put them all together like pieces of a puzzle. And then either create them on a board or, draw a picture of it. But you have such a powerful imagination that you can probably just go with that if you want. Mm-hmm. So I'm saying you're halfway there. You need to jump on board here and get yourself the rest of the way there.
All right.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so everybody else, I know. Go ahead, Santai.
Okay. Well, I'm just echoing what Aloria said to you. We're much more powerful than we give ourselves credit for. I can share a story about Laura and I when we wanted to build our house, how that manifested for us. We imagined it, we visualized it, and we created it in our energies, and we had loving support from friends and family. So it's in your determination inside of you that you're going to do it no matter what. And the bucks and all of that is the cart before the horse. Don't get involved with that, like Aloria alluded to. That's all based on a fear and has nothing to do with your innate ability to create this. You are an extraordinarily creative, powerful person, and you just have to believe that, and it'll happen. Okay. So much love to you.
And I agree. I'm looking at the chat board too. I see that Pammy Bubbly Brook wrote in, ask for what you want, but be prepared to accept what you want as well.
Yeah.
It's very important because day after day after day, especially now in the way the world is changing and as rapidly is, and there are so many focused on loss and lack and fear of the continuation of that. And it's why they continue to get it, because that's where their focus is. Especially now, it's like, that's what we're talking about here tonight. Remember who you really are. Who you really are is this unlimited aspect of love and joy and harmony, who came from a heaven where there is no limitation. And your opportunity here on earth is to remember that and to do the same here. So each time you go to those, well, but, I can't, and, all that stuttering that goes on in the brain and in the voice, you go to the memory of who you really are. And remember that you're unlimited, and not only that you're unlimited, but that you are deserving and worthy of anything that you can imagine you can have. I don't know who quoted it, but the dream, if we can think it, we can create it, or if we can imagine it, we can have it. And I'm sharing with you, you have an amazing imagination and creativity, and not only go for the new home with that, also start imagining a place where you can work. By the way, none of us work. Well, some of us do, but we don't call it work. That's why we have so much time to be with ourselves and imagine and play, because we've imagined our lives to be lives of that we're doing only that of which we love, rather than going out there and doing things that are based on feeling we're obligated and we have to do this in order to survive and pay the bills. That's not our focus. Our focus is we do what we love, and then the rest of it shows up automatically to support, because we're supporting ourselves. So I am encouraging you, to use that imagination that you have to your fullest potential in terms of the positive dream rather than the negative one.
Okay. Offer?
Yes, please do.
And part of that too is that if in all that creative stuff that they were talking about, which is absolutely, I agree with 100%, that your belief system, your belief in yourself, in your heart, has got to be absolutely stronger than everybody outside of you's belief and opinions about what you can or cannot do. Because if you believe everybody outside of you and what you can or cannot do, then it, you may own that, and it becomes your belief. So your belief in you and what you want has got to be stronger, and know that you deserve what your heart's desire is. Because if you own somebody else's belief system, then you're self-sabotaging yourself. But if you stay true to your heart and what you want and do what they said, you'll have whatever it is you want.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just going to add something to what Angela just said. When I personally don't always share all my dreams with everybody because I know that not everybody in their fear, in their beliefs of, in their state of choosing to be in fear and in their beliefs of lack and limitedness cannot hold the vision the way that I want to hold it. And so I don't invite other people's opinions, especially negative opinions. Sometimes they come anyway, and I perceive that as an ability to stand my truth and be who I am, not in a rebellious, angry way, but just, what I want to say to you is if you have shared that with other people or other people are coming up to you or even from your own inner thoughts, you hear, I can't, and you recognize that you feel really crummy when somebody says something adverse to what it is you're dreaming about. That's the soul aspect of you, that higher, all-knowing, loving part of you, letting you know that you don't resonate to what was just said, and to walk away from it or move away from it and to move back into the love and listen to the voice that tells you that you can.
Right.
Okay?
Mhm.
So
nobody knows you know yourself.
That's right. Nobody's your authority.
Yeah.
You're your own authority. You know you better, and you know what you want better than anybody else. And we're all encouraging you to follow through with that and how to do that.
Okay.
That's true. I'd like to add that it's your divine right to live your life. It's your life, and you're living it. And other people's opinions are only based on their lives. So remember to tap into your own divine right to live as you want to live.
Right. And remember, misery loves company, so stay out of the misery.
That's right. Hey, I've got this is Pam. I've got to fly here. I'm headed out the door. But I wanted to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to bumble my way through my inner self with you all.
Thanks for sharing with us tonight, Tammy. We love you.
Okay, love you.
Okay,
bye.
caller. Thank you for asking a question and allowing us to. Every time, I love when people call in and ask questions because it helps us all get much clearer on what it is, who it is we are, and what we're meaning to do here, and all of that. So, thank you again for calling in. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your advice. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. What a sweet lady.
Yeah, very sweet. Okay, let's see. I'm just trying to catch up here. I'm looking at notes, looking at the switchboard, looking at the chat room. Okay, we were talking about genuinely loving and appreciating all aspects of who we are. Does anybody have anything else they want to add to that in terms of what we can share with others? Does that work?
Well, I was listening to everybody's responses, and that question is a hard question for me because that can be answered in so many different ways depending on from where the person's coming from. And so for the most part, I feel like a lot of it is just the willingness to take the journey. And so when Pam was saying about looking at how, what's going on with ourselves inside, absolutely. I just think the part of it is, the pain is there to help us expand, and it's when we refuse to look at it that we cause the most resistance. And so, for me, the first step would be the willingness to have the willpower to look at it so we can expand beyond to see the truth and the awareness that comes from that, and then allow us to love ourselves for having that experience.
Well, would you agree that when we deny those feelings, those negative thoughts, those negative feelings, and we try to push them away, that's resisting them, and therefore all we're doing is creating more of the same?
Yes, I think that the longer we stay in it, the more we create it. And then one of my favorite sayings is when we get tired of the pain, then, we jump through the fear. So when we're in resistance, we're creating more of that pain, whatever it looks like or feels like, until we get to that place within to say enough. And we have the courage, to jump through that fear and see the truth and allow ourselves to expand.
Okay, great. I'm going to take another call. Oh, I'm sorry, did you?
Yeah, this is Tom. I was just going to kind of jump in. I noticed someone had something on the chat room, and I think is referring to the discussion about the last caller, and it said, that's easy to say. However, if you don't have the money to make the next few steps, what then? And then it's followed with, I know accepting where you are is part of it. And, if I could just put my 2 cents worth in, don't really agree with that. By saying you don't have the money, you're immediately creating a limitation for yourself. And I know that's easy to say, but harder to do, but that's what most people do. They look for something, and the first thing they say is, what can I afford? And so that's an immediate limitation, and you'll probably stay in that limitation.
Well, the minute I agree with you, Tom, the minute that you make statements like, I don't have the money, that's your focus. That's what you're putting out there, and that's what you're creating even more of.
Yeah, and if that's the reality you really want to create for yourself, hold on to that. And then the statement was, and I'm not trying to pick on anyone in particular, but the statement after that says, I know accepting where you are is part of that, and I don't agree. You don't have to accept anything.
Well,
yeah. If you have the focus on the money, and money is just an energy force, if you have the focus on that, then you're not really focusing on your passion and your desire of what you need to have accomplished. You're focusing on a mechanical part of it that really it interferes, like you said, Tom. Very well put. I appreciate you saying that. That's beautiful. But this individual is he's thinking of himself as a pragmatist, but he's not really sensing and feeling that it's the energy, like Goth said. If you make a decision to move in a certain direction, then the universe opens and will support that and make it happen for you. And that's the only way that things can really happen, is if you're at peace inside of you and have that focus of what you really want to accomplish. The money will come to support that. It's not like you need the money to do it. That's, like I said before, that's the cart before the horse.
Right, and it's like it's not like we all have more than plenty proof of that. If we continue to focus on that, I don't have the money, that then we get exactly that. We get no money, okay? And instead of stopping and realizing that we're the ones that are creating that, and this is perfect because my next thing was going to be about being your own authority, and so we all just kind of naturally slid right into that as usual. But we are our own authorities. We are these unlimited creative beings, and you can either buy into what you've experienced already and decide that's going to be the rest of your life and your future, or you can stop right in the moment and stop the old tapes, stop repeating the old tapes, stop playing the same program over and over again, and shift your attention, shift your attitude. That's the only thing that's going to change your life. If you want to sit around and whine and complain, I can't do this, I can't do that, I have to be sick, I have no home, I live in poverty, then that's what you're going to get over and over again, and that's what we're talking about here. It's like you are the authority that determines whether you are a have or a have-not, whether your dream is about having a home out in the country or your dream is about having a lot of money or being perfectly healthy. It doesn't matter. You get to choose what you want. Nobody else chooses that. But if you don't have what you want, then there's nothing else and nobody else responsible for that other than yourself. You don't like what you have, you stop, and you change your focus. Mm-hmm. The only reason why you have it is because that's what you're thinking over and over again. That's what you're saying over and over again. That's what you're talking to other people about constantly over and over again. Every time you state the story in your thought, in your word, in your deed, you get the same story again. You have to change the story. You have to stop talking about what you don't want or what is making you miserable and start talking about what you do want and what makes you happy. Just like, Santai has many times, he's been on the show, he reminds us all to get up in the morning and look in the mirror or look at an image of ourselves, a photo or something, and instead of seeing what we don't like about it, start saying how beautiful and wonderful you are. That's up to you. That's not up to anybody else. And the amazing part is when you start doing that for yourself, the rest of it starts flowing in from the outside of you as well. The outside changes when the inside does.
And it's really interesting because that statement that the person wrote in on, I remember saying that many, 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 many times about 8 years ago, and my reality didn't change. And changing that belief system that just keeps circling around in the head takes a lot of focus, and it takes the wanting of something different in one's life and realizing that I have the power to invoke in others what I want to see, as well as I am in charge of how I want to feel. But if I go outside of myself and count on somebody else to say, I give you permission to have more money, and I'm in lack, and I'm never going to have that more money. I have to look in the mirror and say, I'm worthy, and I give myself permission to receive all the abundance in every form that it can come from, because I am worthy of that. And nobody can give that to me other than me.
And you're absolutely right.
And
Go ahead.
Oh, and it's in that, when a neighbor or a friend says, well, you're not going to have that because it just doesn't work anymore. If you want it to change, then you got to stand up for yourself and say, I am worthy, and I can have everything that I want, and it's up to me to believe in myself, to give it to myself, and believe that God can give me abundance in any form, from any direction, as long as I allow it. And if I stay in lack, then I'm not getting squat, other than more lack. So changing the focus is absolutely imperative. So if your friends are negative and saying, oh, yeah, the world just sucks, well, then maybe you need some new friends.
You know what, Angela, I agree, but you start by being your own best friend.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You have to look yourself in the mirror every day.
Everybody else to give to you.
Exactly.
You start telling yourself loving things.
Yeah, I'd like to share a real quick story.
Okay, we're in passion now. They got us fired up now. Go ahead.
Back in 1980, I committed myself to ride my bicycle across the United States from Eugene, Oregon to Virginia Beach, Virginia. And I just got it started, and I stopped at a little cafe outside of Eugene on the road, and I was having breakfast, I believe, and this old gentleman was sitting next to me, and I was, sharing, and he finally stood up and looked at me and says, "You'll never make it. You'll never get across the United States. You'll never do it. You'll never make it. That's impossible."
Mm-hmm.
And, I looked at him like, wow, what a poor guy. Gee, And after 36 days and 4,100 miles, there I was in Virginia Beach. So it's
Mm-hmm.
your relationship with yourself and what you believe you can do that is what's like Angela, you were saying, that's the key to being in integrity with the truth of what you need.
Yeah, I guess I'm just stubborn. Every time somebody said you can't do something, I always had to prove them wrong.
Right, but you want to do that from a space, not out of a space of rebelliousness and trying to prove to other people, but out of the knowingness of who you are and what you truly deserve. Because if you go about it in terms of anger and rebellion, you're still going to end up, you're pushing against the wall. You're still going to end up with nothing. Okay.
Exactly.
Tom just reminded me, passed me a little note over here about sharing the story about how the sacred garden got created, talking about not having any money. And I know that Santa, built his home on what most people would perceive no money. And he lives in a beautiful, beautiful home on beautiful land in the mountains of Colorado. And I have the same.
Laura and me.
Laura, yes, excuse me, Laura and Santa, because, hi, Laura, I know she's listening. Okay, so, back in 1987, I was very inspired to move from where I was, and so I started going out looking, seeking what the vision that I was seeing, and I found the place because I was willing to take the risk and go out there and look for it. I didn't sit in the place I was and say, oh, I'm miserable here. I can't have anything better. I'm like, ooh, I want a different place to live. And so I ended up moving to this little town in the mountains of Colorado, and I wanted a large plot of land, okay? I was thinking like 200 acres or something. And now when I look back, I'm glad I don't have 200 acres because 2 or 3 acres is a little bit much for me to steward at the moment, okay? So I'm really grateful for what I got. But I was showing somebody else property. I wasn't a real estate agent. A friend just showed up in the valley and was looking for land. And since I had been here for a while already, I was taking them around. And we ended up on this piece of land that I had seen before, and we were standing on the hillside and we're looking at it, and I'm sharing with him how easy it would to be to acquire this piece of land. And finally, I'm standing there for a moment in silence, and I look and I say to him, you can't buy this land. And he goes, what do you mean I can't buy this land? You just spent the last 30 minutes trying to convince me to buy this land. I said, well, you can't buy this land because this is my land. I'm buying this land, okay? Now, I want you to know that in that moment, I did not have money to buy dinner that night, okay? And in that moment, I made the decision that I was going to buy this $30,000 piece of land with no money in my pocket to even buy dinner. I didn't know how I was going to buy dinner. I had a home, but had no money to go buy dinner. And so I went home, and I wrote an offer on the property, and my partner at the time is looking at me going, are you crazy? We can't afford this. We don't have any money. We don't even have money for dinner tonight, and you're writing an offer on our property where you're going to put up, $6,000 to purchase it, and you're going to close on it in 30 days. And I just looked at him and I said, that's right. And he goes, how could you possibly do that? Where we are right now, we can't possibly do that. And I said, take your limited thought and please take it to the other room. You either are in or you're out. Okay, I choose to have this land. This is where I want to build my home. And so I did that. I followed through, even though I didn't have but a couple of dollars in my pocket. And I want you to know, for all those people that have been on the chat or asking me questions about, and as we all do, but how can I do this without money? Okay, I am now sitting on that land in a home, in a 7,000 square foot home. That's beautiful. It's beautiful land. It has a creek. It has a pond. It's a retreat for anybody that wants to come and be here to remember who they really are so that they can create whatever their dreams are. Okay? So money has absolutely nothing to do with whether you manifest your dreams or not. Focus on your dream, realizing that you desire it, and continuing to hold that vision and that thought and that image in your mind is what will get you the rest of it. Did other people show up and supply some money that was necessary? Absolutely. People came out of the woodwork. I was getting letters in my post office box. And after I'd made that decision, within a week or 2 weeks' time, I was going to town and going in my mail, and there was letters falling out of the post office box with checks in it saying, Gloria, we support you. We know you believe in your dream, and we believe in it too. Here's $5, here's $10, here's $1,000, here's $30,000. The money showed up. By the time it was time to go to that closing table, I had all the money. The real estate agents donated their commissions so that I could come up with the down payment. Now tell me that's not magical and miracle. It is. And that's what we're all talking about here. Forget about the money. Focus on what you want and stop focusing on the limitation.
And I have another example with that. Huh?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Angie.
It was about, it was not this December, but last December. It was probably in November, a year ago, that I was down in my basement. And I was like, Spirit, the boys really need a better basement. I don't have the money to redo it, so take care of it. A week later, my basement flooded. The insurance came out. We'll take care of it. Here's you'll have your deductible. By the time it was all repaired, all remodeled, everything brand new, I was able to pay off my windows, and I didn't have to pay my deductible because they forgot about it. And then 2 months later, I needed new gutters. So I was like, okay, I'll get gutters. They said, well, do you want gutter tops? I said, no, I'll do that later in the summer when I have money. The gutter people came out, said, and I said, Spirit, I really want gutter tops, so if I'm supposed to have them, allow me to have the money or the way to do it. They come out. The installers are like, oh, so you're getting gutters and tops. I said, are you sure I'm getting tops? He goes, well, they loaded our truck, so you're getting them whether you like it or not. And I looked at the bill of sale. I said, can I look at my order? And I did, and it was the same amount that I agreed to with the gutters. I said, so you're sure you're putting tops on? He goes, absolutely. I said, all right, cool. I got 1,200 gutter tops without even paying for them.
Right.
All because I said, I want this, Spirit, take care of it. And I trusted. I didn't know how it was going to happen. Didn't know when it was going to happen. But all of that happened, and I ended up with $7,500 worth of stuff to pay off my windows and get what I wanted, on top of all the repairs and the remodeling. All because I asked for what I wanted, and I allowed it to come to me in different forms.
Yeah, you were willing to receive it when it came. And you know what? There's a million stories out there of people who we perceive got things in a miraculous way, and there's a million stories out there of people who didn't or never got what they wanted. What we're saying here is, what do you want to choose? Do you choose to be one of those who's the victim, who never gets what they want, and to, project the blame outside of yourself? Or are you going to be the empowered being that you are and choose to have what you want and create it without the excuses of what you don't have in the moment? That's got nothing to do with it. Anyway, I'm going to take another call here, so hold on.
I'm going to throw something in here really quick while Lori's getting that call set up, and it's just a quote I remembered from Henry Ford. Whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. And that's basically what it boils down to.
Okay, 719-598, you're on the air. Welcome to Live Heaven on Earth.
Hi, how you guys doing?
Hi, is this Dean?
It's Athene. It sounds like you're having a blast.
There we are. Okay, for the rest of the audience, there's another light connector. This is Athene Raphael. She's going to be a guest on the show next week. So, are you jumping in, Athene? You have something to add?
I just had a couple of questions. One of the things I wanted to ask is this stuff that you're talking about. It sounds like, you know, you guys fly by the seat of your pants a lot and trust a lot, and I wonder if you fly with a net or not. And the other thing is, are there tools? You know, are there tools that you can give people to get to these places, rather than just saying, you know, get there?
Absolutely. There are lots of tools. And that's where we kind of started our discussion. I don't know how long you've been listening to the show, but we were talking about, you know, the different ways of doing that, or I was soliciting that from the rest of the group. So if you have something that you'd like to share with us in terms of tools that work for you, or tools that you've seen. I think
each person ultimately has to live with themselves in their own life. So they have to not try to overdo something they're not ready to do. And at the same time, they have to do more than they normally would because of the fear. So the fear stops you from doing, and trusting completely, hanging by a wire, trusting completely is something that personally I think, and you too, Aloria, and all you guys, that it took us years and years to accomplish that. Is that right?
I agree with that, but you know that's neither here nor there. If you have a relationship with yourself that is dysfunctional, then the challenge is to work through that, no matter whether it takes 1 month or 100 years. It's what we're talking about is being in the knowing that we are a powerful individual, and having that clarity of that right from the get-go allows the mechanics of it to begin to come in to support the evolution of you being in harmony with love and letting go of the fear.
Okay, I missed stuff there because I missed the tools. I wanted to know.
I agree, Athene. We were talking about tools. We were, you know, as we're going through the topic tonight, we are bringing in tools, and thanks for reminding us to bring them in again, because that's important. It's not just about doing it. Everybody needs to know. Everybody wants to know how to do it, you know, and we're sharing from how to do it based on our experiences, and we got it done. But I was talking earlier about, you know, I was having some challenges this week that was causing me to have to choose again what I wanted in my life. Do I want this the old life, the miserable life of lack and limitation, or do I want to move forward and create even more dreams? And so I took the time to sit down, lie down back on the sofa, and I know one of the tools that works very well for me is to imagine what I want rather than to be stressed out and struggle with the thoughts, the words, and the deeds of what I don't want.
I understand. But what I'm saying is, for me, it's a time of surrender. I don't get to choose something else. I have to be in the now, and so it's kind of like I've already surrendered to my soul path and my spiritual path, and I am my best friend, and I did that a long time ago. So what I'm saying is, you know, these wonderful people that have been calling in, and I mean they're pretty awesome actually,
really?
are sharing their miraculous experiences, which many of us have had. But in some way, I feel like something has shifted or something has changed, and I'm just wondering if you guys have a feel for that at all.
Well, may I?
Please.
Go ahead.
May I?
May I please? But go ahead.
Well, at least I didn't say can I. Anyways, I agree. Something has shifted, and I think, far as you know, our path, we have. A lot of us have chosen the long, hard road for one reason or another. And I feel what has changed is some of the tools that are coming in from Spirit, from within ourselves, is the recognition that it doesn't have to be a long, hard path. and that it doesn't have to be hard, and that we can teach these people how to do it easily and quickly. But I also agree that the person has to be ready, that there is a process, there's a timing within themselves of surrender.
Well, there's this thing called struggle, okay? For instance, struggle has a pattern that, let's say, you've had for many, many lifetimes, that's been a part of your reality, a part of your existential being, you know, a part of your everyday life, and you struggle, and you've learned to live with the struggle, right? And then at some point you decide that that's not going to make you happy. So how do you, once again, what tool can I use to take me from that pattern, that consciousness of struggle that's on many levels, because, you know, I've lived it many, many lifetimes. What tool can I use to help me with that?
Okay, well, I'm going to jump back in here.
Yeah, let me jump.
First, you're telling me that you're in the space where you realize that you don't want the struggle any longer. Is that correct?
Correct.
You've got that consciousness, at least.
Yeah,
okay?
and I've had it many times before, and I've overcome it many times before.
Right. This life doesn't work for me. I want something different, okay?
Well, I'm saying I've overcome it in this lifetime many times.
No, I agree. I'm trying to follow through with here and give you a response to the tool.
Okay.
You know, I can only share what I know works for me and has worked for other individuals that I've guided, okay?
Okay.
You're in the consciousness, life sucks, and I want a different life, okay? Okay, so at least we know we want the different life. From that point on, then, on what I've been saying over and over again tonight, and you'll continue to hear me always say, then you start focusing on the life you do want rather than continuing to keep your attention on the life that you don't want.
What if you have accepted the life you have and there's still a struggle within it?
Then you haven't accepted the life you live in.
Really?
Yeah, I'm agreeing. If you're struggling, you haven't accepted the situation. You haven't surrendered.
Okay, so I'm saying the struggle thing, it keeps coming back up. You know, it's like it's not, might be gone for 10 years, 20 years, and then it comes back up.
Well, right. We talked about this today because Athena and I have both gone through the situation where we've had homes, we've manifested the thing we wanted, and then next, all of a sudden we wake up one day and they're not there anymore, all right? So are you perceiving that as the struggle, or are you going to go with what we talked about today? We talked about the fact that we recognized the material things wasn't really what we were after. We sat down 20 years ago. We decided, we both went through a similar experience. We didn't know each other at the time or shortly after that, but somebody guided us, whether it was spiritual guides or a physical mentor, to write down what we really wanted. And we both agreed that we both said exactly the same thing. We want peace, we want joy, we want love, and we want happiness.
And we want to be free to be ourselves.
Exactly. Freedom.
And where was the house?
We didn't put it in there.
Okay. So I can in on this. I think you're asking about a tool. Well, kind of alluded to it with the writing down that Gloria mentioned. One of the things that I have coached people to do, and with myself and Laura, is we sit down and you write out. The act of writing brings it more to focus within you than thinking it.
And I appreciate that, and I think that's very good. I think people should hear that about journaling. I think they need to know about that tool and how really valuable that tool can be.
Well, yeah, it brings a greater clarity to what you need to focus in on or wish to focus in on. So if you have
I used to journal, and then I would tear it out, and I would throw it in the fire, and I would bury it.
But it comes down to everything is vibration. Everything has an essence. And the essence of a house feels like whatever it feels like for you. And it feels different for the neighbor. And if you want a car, that has an essence. Everything is vibrational. And so if
who am I talking?
we can, this is Angela Trueheart.
Who?
Angela.
Angela. What's your last name?
Well, I go by Trueheart, but
Trueheart. Angela Trueheart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So everything, we have this huge, awesome universe of law of attraction. And it has everything in it from the time before we came here and now. And so, you know, we go through the world and say, yeah, 10 years ago I wanted this, and we forget about it. And then it comes about, and it shows up in our reality. So if we manifest peace, love, joy, happiness, and that's all we really are focusing on in this world reality, then that's what we're going to get.
Oh, wow. That sounds horrible. That sounds horrible to get that. Oh, my God.
Hold on. Yeah. So, but the cool thing about manifesting...
Listen, I'm going to let you guys go. I know you got some readings to do, and I could just sit here and play devil.
Well, why don't you hang on? Just stay on. I'm going to take the next caller.
Okay,
I'm going to keep you on the line.
I'll take the next call.
Okay. She's definitely being a devil's advocate tonight. Okay, 561-212, you're on the air. Welcome to Live Heaven on Earth.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, it's Leah from Florida.
From Florida?
Hi, I'm sorry, what was your name?
Lena.
Hi, Lena. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
We're great. What can we do for you tonight, Lena?
Well, I wanted to go inside about my 14-year-old son, and he's been giving me a challenging time for a while, and wanted to see what you can get, tell me about the situation.
Angela?
Oh, I was just thinking, well, the first thought that came to me is, what are you evoking in your life with your son? Are you focused on all the bad stuff and his behavior? Or are you really seeing the divine beauty he is in your life that's causing you to expand? Because you guys have some sort of agreement in each other's life. And once we focus on, well, one, you getting alignment with yourself, looking at what really works and doesn't work for you, then being able to look at him as this beautiful being who's struggling just as much as you, and seeing the truth of who he is and not the behavior, the bad person that he is that keeps. And so when you focus on that, you're going to get more of that. And in that, it's forcing you to expand within yourself, to grow and learn how to be in relationship with yourself and with him. And when you can find yourself, I want to use the word alignment, but I don't know if it'll make sense to you. When you can find joy within yourself and happiness or centeredness within yourself and look at him and hear him and then approach him from that love space that you have, the behavior and the energy will change. Because right now you guys are feeding off each other and just making the fire bigger.
Lena, why don't you share a little bit with us about what's going on?
Well, he's going to be 14 in May, and 2 years ago, exactly 2 years ago on his birthday, he was really acting out, and I was going through a lot of, just lost my job, and he wanted to go spend more time with his dad, so I let him do that, and I thought that's what he wanted, but I thought maybe his behavior would change, but it seemed like, it gets, gets worse, and I've tried with him, and we're in therapy for 2 years now. I wanted to get a different therapist, and he likes this therapist, and I thought maybe a male therapist would work better with him, but my ex-husband would agree to it, and now my ex-husband has me in court, and there's just a lot of emotions around the whole situation, and it's getting to me. He's put on a lot of weight. He isolates himself. He really doesn't have any friends. He just plays the guitar So, I mean, he does well in school, so that's a good thing. But, you know, he has this animosity towards me, and I don't know if it's being fueled from his father or if it's just an adolescent thing, or... I mean,
I jump in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Lena, first of all, what I'm getting about what's your son's first name, please?
Justin.
Justin, thank you. What a coincidence. It's what I'm picking up around him is a tremendous amount of anger and fear about not being appreciated and loved in the fullness that this young man needs. And it's a terrible teens that he's going through, but there's much more to it than that. He's very angry about you and your ex not being together and feeling betrayed and all of that. I would just, I think that what you're going to find is that the more that you, like Angela said, the more that you can look and see the beauty of this incredible son of yours, the more that's going to affect him being able to move through this. I don't think that it's so much the therapist that's going to help as it is for him to just evolve from the love that is constantly being given to him from you and hopefully from his father, though I get a feeling that he's not very comfortable in doing that. But at any rate, Lena, I think that that's the key, is you just, like Angela said, just continue to see the beauty and the magnificence of your son, and to just when he gets antagonistic and rebellious and obnoxious, that's just his reaction to his pain. It has nothing to do with you per se. Does that make sense?
Yes, that definitely does make sense.
Okay, I wanted to add something in real quick, Lena, to what Santa said. It's important that you don't take on any guilt or shame about any of it, because in what you've chosen for yourself, you haven't done anything wrong, okay? Justin is just not understanding. He's just like all the rest of us who want to grow up with mommy and daddy and be in love, peace, and joy in a nice home and know that everything's being taken care of. And so some of the things that he's experienced through the separation of the two people that brought him into the world, he's having trouble with. He doesn't understand, even though he's going to be 14 years old. Sometimes kids these days, we're always smart. We've all been smart. They're coming in even smarter and wiser now than ever before. But we have to remember that they're still children, and they don't have the same capacity to understand things on an intellectual level as we do as adults, okay? Because we simply do, because we've had more experience in life than they have. And I agree with Santa. I'm feeling a great deal of, he's angry, he's upset, he's not getting things explained to him properly, he doesn't understand it fully, and so he's finding ways. We all know that when someone's seeking attention, whether they're in need and they're seeking attention, we all resort to getting attention any way we possibly can. And unless we're redirected to get that attention in a positive way, we're going to go after the negative way to get it. And I also agree that the most important way to handle that is to let him know that he is loved, honored, respected, even though he is still only 14 years old, for who he is, not who you want him to be or who his father wants him to be. You have to remember that you gave him life, but that does not make his life yours. And I understand as a parent that you want to guide him and direct him, but the best guidance and direction that you can give any human being at any age that they are is to trust in themselves, to follow what's right for them, to do what feels good for them, and not to dictate onto each other, whether they're our children or anybody else in our lives, what they should be doing or shouldn't be doing.
We've been divorced for 8 years now.
Yeah, so think about how young he was when it happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that goes right along with what I just said. I'm seeing this little confused, frightened boy who's bypassed he doesn't want to show his fear now because of the age he is, and it's more important that he look more manly than a child. I mean, 14's a tough age. You don't know whether you're supposed to be a kid or you're supposed to be an adult. Plus, then all those hormones are kicking in. You know, all those other changes are happening on every level. So, you know, I see this confused. Try to remember when you look at, I'm going to share something with you, a tool like Athene was talking about earlier. When you look at your son or you think about your son, look at him look at the child he was just before all that was happening, when things were still beautiful and loving and wonderful and happy. And see that same child now and redirect him back to that. Let him know that he's loved. Let him know that he's respected. Let him know that he's allowed to be who he is, and who he is magnificent, even if it is in contrary to who you wanted him to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a little problem on Sunday, and he has this habit of, like, tackling me like one of his friends, and I told him, stop, he wouldn't stop. Finally, I slapped him across the face because I got so upset he wasn't listening. And he's a very strong kid. He's a big kid. He's a big kid. I mean, he could, you know, he has a habit of crossing my boundaries.
Well, he's in fear, and what I see is that he's trying to get you to join him in his fear, and you need to stay out of the fear and go back to the love, and guide him from there.
Yeah. So I can relate with her big time. So, I had a son that went through all of, not same situation, but he had a lot of anger, and he went to those places of challenging me to the point where I had to put my boundaries down and step into not reacting to his anger, because it was in reacting to his anger that invoked and enlisted my own anger within myself to react. I never slapped him or anything. I wanted to. But what I'm saying is when someone goes, when they're in those spaces and they're in so much pain inside, they don't know how to stop and say, Mom, I'm in so much pain. I'm in so much confusion. I don't know what to do. Help me. They don't know how to ask. So all they do know how to ask, especially boys, is to act up in aggression and resistance and rebellion in the way they do. And so it wasn't until I chose not to react to his anger, and I chose to stand in the love that I have for him, was he able to then see and start to make changes through his choices. And I had to keep saying it over and over again. I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry you feel that way. I still love you. I'm sorry you feel that way. I still love you. And if he would, get to a point where he was in my face, I'd walk away. I'm sorry, this is not in alignment with me. When you're ready to talk to me, we'll talk. But I'm not going to engage with you this way. And I can't tell you how many times I had to repeat that over and over and over again. And I would go into my room and I would cry. I'd break down and then I'd get strong again. And then I'd come back. This pattern I want to change. I see the light of him. I see the love he is. I see the potential divine person that he can be, whatever that is. And I have to stay in that truth of who he is on a core level and believe it and have hope when he had none, to see him through the anger.
And Lena,
but that's a part of it. It's like Angela had to see her own value and her own worth before she could be able to see it in her child or in anybody else. And that's what we're talking about here. You're triggering back and forth in each other. He's not remembering who he is because you're not remembering who you are. And, since you're the one that's on the line and seeking and calling out for the help, you start to remember who you really are, and then you can come from that space. And even if you can't go into that higher space, remember, that you're a mother and you're a loving mother, and what you wanted for your child, probably from the moment that you realized that you were pregnant with the child, was you wanted nothing more for that child to be happy. And remember that, despite whether his way of gaining his own individual happiness is different from your way. He may be perfectly happy. I don't get that he is, but what I'm trying to share with you, Lena, is that we all need our time, our space alone. I don't want to be out there socializing 24 hours a day, and just because 75% of the teenagers in the world want to do that, and you come across one that doesn't work for that one, that doesn't make something wrong with him. That might be what's right for him, but the only way that you're going to be able to determine that is to move out of your fear and engage in conversation with him. Show him the love that you're really feeling for him. Get out of the fear and the battle. Call a truce.
I don't think he's happy. He's up to a size 42.
It doesn't matter how big he is, or Lena, how small he is.
No, I'm not saying that he is. I'm making some suggestions.
Yeah, I'm worried about his health. He could have diabetes at that weight.
Okay, I'm gonna share with you. There's a one. Go ahead, Santai.
Yeah, Lena, I have to share this with you, that I have seen Angela's son in all those stages that she just described to you, and what she has in her son now is just a magnificent, beautiful human being. He's evolved into a very genuine, loving person. That doesn't mean he doesn't have still remnant stuff going on. Of course he does. But what I'm saying is, Lena, you could take what Angela has given to you as tools to use, and I know that Justin will evolve into the magnificence that he is. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, Lena, I wanted to suggest that I know Angela's read this book, and I'm reading it presently.
Mm-hmm.
This wonderful book called The Vortex by Esther and Jerry Hicks, and it is about relationships, and it breaks down about the relationship with self, and then how that affects the relationship with everybody else, everything else, and every place else, okay? And I would highly suggest that you get that book and read it, because it will really go into detail of what we're talking about right now.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, thank you, Lena. We're down to our last 5 minutes here. So, anybody have anything else they want to share in terms of the relationship between the humanness of us and the higher aspect, the soul of us? We may never get through this topic.
Well, it's the main topic of life.
It is. I agree. You align with who you really are, and everything else falls into place. If you're not aligned with that, then life continues to be a struggle on and on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because I think even the Fifth Agreement book goes along well with that. So, because it shows other aspects of relationship and stories, and allowing people to be who they are, and I just think there's so many ways to get there, but we can only be the examples. With how
I want to clarify too that it's not a place that we're trying to get. It's who we are. It's who we've always been, and we will always be. We just have to remember who we are, accept who we are, and then be who we are.
And we're not broken, and we don't need to be fixed. We just need to remember.
Exactly. So, okay, anyway, I want to thank everybody on chat tonight. You've been great with all the questions and the interaction with one another. All our callers that really helped inspire us and help clarify the topic for this evening on all levels. And I want to thank the team of light workers, Santai, Angela Trueheart, not Angela, I'm sorry, I'm thinking two Pams, Pammy, Eubanks, Tom Stilley. Thanks for your love and your wisdom and your willingness to freely express your stories and your experiences and all of it. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.